Ever seen a girl threaten to bury someone's body 1 minute and then baby talk a stray cat the next? That's Tachibana, the scariest girl in school who secretly draws romance manga, can't cook without her mom crying, and just fell head over heels for the one guy who won't stop calling her cute. This is the most unhinged tsundere love story you'll ever read.
Tachibana's standing in the kitchen wearing an apron, spatula in hand, looking completely flustered, while her mom apparently won't stop crying. She's insisting this isn't what it looks like. She's just returning a favor, that's all. The way she's stumbling over her words trying to convince her mom to calm down tells you everything you need to know about how deep in denial this girl really is. Turns out, somebody's been paying attention to what Tachibana eats at school, and it's not good. She's been surviving on calorie bars every single day, and now she's getting called out for it. When they ask if she's broke, that little pause before she answers says more than any words could. And the cream bun someone hands her hits different when you realize nobody's looked out for her like this before. Back in the classroom, the gossip mill is already running at full speed. Whispers are flying around about Tachibana having a boyfriend, and not just any guy, the transfer student sitting right next to her. She's sitting at her desk with her stomach in knots, mentally screaming that this airhead is gone and ruined everything, and all she wants to do is disappear. After school, she can't even look him in the face while they walk together. She catches herself staring and snaps at him to shut up, or she won't carry his bag anymore. But the real panic hits when she remembers the gossip. She needs to shut that down before it spreads any further. And the little chibi version of her freaking out in the corner is peak desperation. She gets home and throws herself onto the bed, sobbing to her mom about how awful this whole situation is. She's screaming that she absolutely does not have feelings for this guy, not even a little bit, no way in hell. But then she grabs her pillow and hugs it tight, and the silence after her rant lands like a confession she's not ready to make. The boyfriend rumors have officially reached critical mass at school. Someone asks her point blank if she's dating the transfer student, and Tachibana completely short circuits. Her face goes bright red. She's yelling that she hates the guy, fists clenched and everything. But the little narrator note at the bottom already knows the truth. She's already falling for him. Her classmates come up to her apologizing, saying they didn't mean for things to blow up like that. One girl's practically in tears explaining how she had the wrong idea about Tachibana this whole time. Tachibana plays it cool on the surface, saying it's fine, and she doesn't care, but she does drop one condition. They need to apologize to that guy too, because apparently a lot of boys at school have been secretly into her and taking it out on him. The next morning, Tachibana shows up and reaches out to take his bag without being asked. She mumbles something about his shoulder still hurting, offers to carry it for him, and then tries to say good morning before cutting herself off mid-word. That little never mind at the end is her entire personality in one word. She wants to be sweet, but physically cannot let herself do it. She's leaning against a wall after school when the transfer student pops up out of nowhere. He casually drops a sup like they're best friends, and she nearly jumps out of her skin. When he mentions his house is right nearby, you can see the gears turning in her head as she realizes this guy is literally inescapable. Something happened. Something big. And Tachibana is sitting there with tears streaming down her face, holding what looks like food on a stick. She's calling him a damn idiot through hiccups, asking what the hell is wrong with him for doing something like that. Whatever he did it for her sake, and she's absolutely wrecked by it. A tall, intimidating-looking upperclassman shows up and starts sizing up the situation. He asks if this kid is Tachibana's boyfriend or something, and you can feel the tension spike immediately. Tachibana's grabbing at her collar in frustration, yelling that it's none of his business and begging the transfer student to just go home, but calling him an idiot while she does it, because of course she does. She comes out of the bathroom with tear-stained cheeks, and guess who's waiting in the hallway? She spots the transfer student, and her expression goes cold in a heartbeat. She tells him flat out to steer clear of her for the time being, walking away before he can even respond. And you can tell whatever happened with that upperclassman left a mark. The whispers behind her back are getting nastier now. Girls in class are calling her an eyesore, saying she's always putting on airs, and one of them even suggests getting her boyfriend to loosen her up. Tachibana hears every single word, sitting there stone-faced while the cruelty piles on. When the transfer student notices the look on her face and asks about it, she shuts him down instantly. It has nothing to do with him. Morning comes, and she's walking to school when he tries to greet her with a cheerful good morning. She fires back, asking why she has to see his stupid face this early, tells him not to talk to her, and storms off. But the way she's clutching her collar and looking away tells a completely different story than the venom coming out of her mouth. The door swings open, and there she is, glasses on, casual clothes, looking nothing like the tough girl from school. She realizes the transfer student has moved in right next door, and her entire world collapses in real time. She's screaming at him to forget everything he saw, demanding he erase it from his memory forever. And then he calls her cute, and she completely blue screens. She's crouched down by a park bench petting a stray cat when the transfer student walks up on her. She hits him with the coldest threat she can muster. If he tells anyone about what just happened, she'll bury his body. The menacing words would land a lot harder if she wasn't still kneeling next to an adorable kitten with the softest expression she's worn all chapter. And then the mask comes all the way off. She's cooing at the cat, baby talking about what a good little kitty it is, asking if it wants to shake hands. Her whole face is lit up with pure joy, no edge, no attitude, just a girl who loves animals more than she'll ever love being tough. This is the real Tachibana, and the transfer student is watching every second of it. First day of the new school year hits, and she lets out the deepest sigh imaginable. Not only is the transfer student in her class, but he's sitting right next to her. The universe is clearly out to get her. She's slumped over her desk, doodling in her notebook, muttering that this is the absolute worst, but the fact that she hasn't asked to switch seats says everything. Lunchtime rolls around, and she's eating alone in what looks like an empty clubroom. Just a cream bun and a juice box. He walks in, and she immediately goes on the offensive, asking why he's here and where he gets off barging into her space. She calls him a loner, like it's an insult. But the irony of her sitting by herself in a deserted room eating a sad lunch is not lost on anyone. The door to the manga club swings open, and there's Tachibana standing in the doorway looking equal parts annoyed and flustered. She goes off about what kind of weirdo transfer student just waltzes into some abandoned clubroom like he owns the place, ranting that it was so much nicer when she was alone. He looks at her and says one word, tsundere, and the way her eyes go wide tells you he just hit the bullseye dead center. Tachibana is standing there with tears streaming down her face, fists clenched, screaming that she's going to kill him, and then herself right after. It's the most dramatic overreaction to getting embarrassed you've ever seen, and it's absolutely hilarious. Whatever he just witnessed, it was bad enough to make her consider actual violence as a reasonable response. The camera pulls back and you see what caused the meltdown. Her manga drawings are scattered all over the floor. He walked in on her secret hobby, and now she's on her knees surrounded by her own artwork, looking up at him in pure horror. She keeps repeating that he saw it. He freaking saw it, like a broken record that's been hit with a hammer. They end up at the beach together somehow, and Tachibana is standing there telling him not to look at her too much. But then she does a complete 180 and says fine, he can look if he wants to. The gap between what she says and what she means has never been wider, and the ocean breeze isn't the only thing making her nervous right now. Back at home, she's sitting at her desk late at night with her glasses on and her hair tied up, scribbling furiously in her notebook. The pen hits the paper and she draws what's clearly a manga page. This girl is a closet artist pouring her feelings into her work. She mutters that she's gross, and the words she's written on the page say everything she can't bring herself to say out loud. The next day, she's walking away from him and her heart is pounding so hard you can practically hear it through the page. She's clutching her chest, asking herself if she was acting weird just now, completely spiraling. Her internal monologue is screaming that she can't look him in the face anymore, and by the end, she's sliding down against a wall, wondering if this might actually be bad. She catches herself staring at him in the clubroom, and he notices, asking what she's looking at. She mumbles nothing, with the most unconvincing poker face in the history of poker faces. Then she announces she's heading home early, leaving him confused and asking if he did something wrong. And the answer is yes, he exists, and that's the whole problem. She gets home and throws herself face first onto the couch, screaming into the cushions about how annoying everyone is for asking if she likes him. She insists she doesn't like him, that she flat out hates him actually, with the conviction of someone who believes absolutely none of what they're saying. And then in 3 quiet panels at the bottom, curled up on that couch, she whispers it. I like him. I like him. I actually like him. Her mom calls her out on it immediately, pointing out that she obviously fell for the guy. Tachibana tries to deny it, saying there's not a snowball's chance in hell, but her mom is already asking to meet him. The blush that takes over her entire face could light up a city block, and she storms off yelling that she hates her mom, which at this point is just how she says, "You're right." Her brother gets involved next, and this is where things get really messy. She's rattling around the house, insisting she doesn't like the guy. But her brother hits her with the most devastating observation. He never thought she'd actually find someone she liked. She melts into a hug, admitting she won't be able to hold it all in anymore. And he just stands there like a man watching his sister's entire personality crumble in real time, Something shifts the next day at school, and Tachibana gives him the warmest smile she's ever shown anyone. She whispers, "Thank goodness," with tear-stained eyes, looking genuinely relieved about something. Then she panics, announces she's going on ahead, and literally sprints away from him, because being vulnerable for 3 seconds was apparently her limit. They're walking home together, and she thanks him for carrying her bag all this time, barely able to get the words out. He turns to look at her, and she grabs his arm out of nowhere, pulling him close to check on his wound. The bandage came off, and she's inspecting where he got hurt, and the tenderness in this moment is so far from her usual attitude that even she doesn't know what to do with it. She gets his contact info and immediately has a full breakdown in her bedroom about it. She doesn't know what to text first because she's never had a friend to message before, so she panics for 5 straight minutes before just sending a sticker. When he replies almost instantly, she's lying on the floor kicking her feet with the biggest grin on her face while her brother asks if she's ever going back to her own room. He pulls out his phone at school and asks if she wants to add each other on a messaging app, and her brain completely short-circuits. She's screaming internally about what he's playing at, but the excuse he gives is sweet. He feels bad making her wait for him every day, so this way they can coordinate. She smacks him on the arm, they exchange info, and the narrator confirms what we all already knew. They added each other. She flops onto her brother's bed that night, glasses on, asking if he thinks she found someone she likes. He takes one look at her face and says he can tell. Spring has come for his sister. She buries her face in a pillow screaming that there's no way it's that obvious, but the truth is written all over her in permanent marker. She comes home from school and her mom is right there waiting, pulling her close and telling her she did great. Turns out the guy actually ate the food she made him, and her mom is over the moon about it. Tachibana's little brother walks in on this scene and immediately looks uncomfortable, because watching your sister have a rom-com moment with your mom is nobody's idea of a good time. Back in the manga club room, he returns the food container and mentions he liked what she made. Her eyes go wide, and she clutches the container to her chest, telling him to say that to her mom, not her. But the tiny smile she's fighting to suppress, and the way she tells him to stop looking at her gives away everything. That compliment just made her entire week. She shows up at his front door in her glasses and casual clothes, holding a bento box her mom apparently made too much of. She stammers through her excuse, saying her mom told her to bring it over, and he can totally throw it out if he wants. But then she adds that if he's hungry, he should eat it. And the way she's gripping that container with both hands tells you she spent an hour working up the nerve to ring his doorbell. She gets home after delivering the bento and has a complete existential crisis in the hallway. She's standing there holding a second bento box she couldn't bring herself to give him, asking if it would even be normal to give food to someone you just met. Her brother walks in on her face down on the floor, wailing about how gross she is, and he just stands there with the tired eyes of a sibling who's seen this show every night this week. The next day in the club room, she's eating her own homemade bento, and he's clearly watching her. She snaps at him, asking what he's looking at, then tells him she makes food for herself sometimes too. The kicker comes when she says that if he doesn't have any money, he should try making his own food, which is Tachibana speak for, "I'll keep cooking for you if you let me." 9:27 p.m. Claude responded. Tachibana shows up at her brother's door in tears, sniffling so hard she can barely get the words out. Tachibana shows up at her brother's door in tears, sniffling so hard she can barely get the words out. She sobs that her first love is already over before it even started, and her poor brother just sits there watching his sister completely fall apart on the couch next to him. The way she's blubbering through her words tells you something went really wrong at school today. But then, something unexpected happens. A classmate reaches out to her with the warmest energy she's ever received. The girl tells Tachibana she should hang out with her and the others more, apologizing for leaving her out until now. Tachibana can barely respond, just mumbling a quiet thanks, because nobody's ever invited her to anything before, and she has no idea how to process basic human kindness. She psyches herself up to go talk to Takahashi, and that's when the bomb drops. A group of girls swarms him first, gushing about how the boyfriend rumor was just a rumor, and how scary Tachibana is. Tachibana's standing right there watching it happen, hearing them laugh about her while they fawn over the guy she likes, and you can feel her stomach drop through the floor. She gets home and the tears won't stop, glasses fogging up as she cries into her hands. Her brother hits her with the hardest truth she's ever heard. If she doesn't get serious and do something herself, this will end up being nothing more than a crush. But then he softens, telling her she's got a nice face and she just might be able to make it work. And the way he backtracks from tough love to encouragement is the most sibling thing ever. She's ranting to her brother at home, glasses on, fully spiraling about whether Takahashi even knows she exists in that way. She's asking if he's some kind of bonehead for not realizing she likes him, and her brother just sits there taking the abuse. He points out that the real issue is she can't communicate properly, and the look on her face when that truth lands is devastating because she knows he's right. Next thing you know, she's sitting across from Takahashi in the club room grilling him with questions like, it's a job interview, favorite food, hobbies, the whole 9 yards. She's writing it all down with a pen, like she's doing research. When he asks why he's being interrogated, she tells him he's now the representative of all high school boys across the world, and the absurdity of that statement is peak Tachibana. She gets back home and collapses on her bed, heart pounding so hard you can see the ba-dump sound effects shaking the entire page. She's staring at her own hand, asking what she's going to do, tears welling up in her eyes. She whispers that she thinks she's really lost it this time, and for once she's not being dramatic. This girl is genuinely, deeply, hopelessly in love, and she has zero tools to deal with it. Takahashi casually asks if she wants to go shopping together, like as a date, and Tachibana's brain explodes in real time. She's stammering about how it's too soon for that kind of thing, calling him a moron, completely losing her composure. But the chapter ends with them agreeing to try holding hands, just for 1 minute. No, wait, 30 seconds. And even that tiny concession nearly kills her. The school festival arrives, and somehow Tachibana ends up in a costume that absolutely does not fit right. She's tugging at the outfit in complete mortification, yelling that there's no way this is the right size. Turns out the drama club member matched it to her usual measurements, not knowing she normally wears a size down, and the comedy of errors has her ready to combust on the spot. She's still in the costume, demanding that nobody look at her, asking why she even has to wear something like this. Every inch of her body language is screaming embarrassment while her mouth is screaming actual words. The whole scene is a masterclass in putting your tough girl protagonist in the most vulnerable position possible and watching the walls come crumbling down. Something he said hits her differently that night, and she's lying there replaying it over and over. She asks herself why he can say things like that so easily, calling him a moron through trembling lips. Then the realization crashes into her. Being temporary boyfriend and girlfriend still kind of means they're together, and the narrator confirms it with the most satisfying 4 words. She finally realized. Takahashi approaches her at school with something serious to say, and her entire aura shifts to maximum intimidation mode. She's glaring at him with dark energy radiating off her body, asking what he wants. But then he tells her that her illustrations are amazing, and he believes she could make it as a real mangaka. And the sincerity of it cuts right through every defense she's ever built. She screams at him that he's not wrong, calls him a moron, and storms off, which is Tachibana speak for, "That's the nicest thing anyone has ever said to me, and I'm going to cry about it." Her brother reports to their mom that she won't come out of her room, and she's in there sobbing because someone she loves just told her to chase her dream. Sometimes the things that break you down are the things that build you up. They're out together, and he asks point blank what exactly they're doing here, and Tachibana nearly chokes on her strawberry juice. He spells it out. They're doing this temporary couple thing, so she can gather material for her rom-com manga, right? The way she stammers through multiple false starts before he even finishes the question tells you that gathering material stopped being the reason about 50 chapters ago. She asks if they could hold hands, since they talked about it yesterday, and you can see every ounce of courage she has being poured into those 5 words. But then she immediately takes it back, saying, no way, she can't. She's getting ahead of herself. The fact that she can't even hold hands without having a full existential crisis while walking side by side with him is both heartbreaking and adorable in equal measure. Back in her room that night, she's been staring at a text message for 30 straight minutes trying to hit send. She's typed out asking him to walk to school together tomorrow, and she just can't pull the trigger. When she finally sends it and the notification sound goes off, she literally faceplants into the couch like she just ran a marathon, and all she did was send a text. The reply comes through and she checks her phone with trembling hands, tears already forming. He said yes. He actually said yes to walking to school together. She's sitting there clutching her phone to her chest, asking what she's going to do now. And the raw vulnerability on her face is the most honest she's been in the entire story. Tachibana corners Takahashi at school and drops the bombshell. She's drawing a rom-com manga, but has zero actual experience with romance. She tells him he has to go out with her so she can get research material, stammering through every syllable like her life depends on it. She flat out tells him he doesn't get a veto, and the fact that she framed a love confession as a manga research proposal is the most Tachibana thing that has ever happened. She gets home and immediately goes into full meltdown mode, flailing on the floor, calling herself every name in the book. She's kicking and screaming about why she had to fall for him and spill everything, completely losing it in front of her brother who just watches from the doorway. But then she rolls over, grabs her pillow, and the look in her eyes shifts. If it's come to this, she's going all in, and that quiet determination underneath all the chaos is what makes her impossible not to root for. 9:29 p.m. Claude responded. They're walking home from their date, and Takahashi admits he felt like he flubbed the whole boyfriend act. They're walking home from their date, and Takahashi admits he felt like he flubbed the whole boyfriend act. He says he doesn't really know what he's doing with this kind of stuff, and he wants to do better next time. Tachibana tugs on his sleeve from behind and says 2 words that stop him cold. That's not true. And in that tiny gesture, she's telling him everything she can't say out loud. She's walking behind him in casual clothes, hair down, looking softer than she's ever looked in the entire series. The words filling the page hit like a truck. She might not be able to hold back her love anymore. No anger, no deflection, no insults. Just raw, unfiltered Tachibana admitting to herself that the wall she's built is about to come down for good. But the next day, she's right back in crisis mode, heart pounding so loud the sound effects are shaking the panels. She realizes she's been so nervous she forgot to hit him with any of her usual snark, and now she's spiraling about why he seems to be having such a good time. She's watching him cheerfully suggest another stop, and internally screaming about why he's so damn nice to her when she's clearly a pain in the ass. They've been holding hands, all day, like an actual couple. Tachibana's eyes are practically spinning as she processes the fact that their fingers have been laced together this entire time, and she's so overwhelmed she could genuinely pass out. Meanwhile, Takahashi is worried they haven't done enough coupley things, completely oblivious to the fact that she's over there ready to ascend to heaven from a single hand squeeze. They're on a pretend date, and Tachibana is walking next to him with the most intense pout on her face, not saying a word. He's panicking internally, thinking he creeped her out by calling her cute earlier, while she's just completely unable to function because of how nervous she is. They hit up bookstores together, and she barely responds to anything, leaving this poor guy convinced he's already blown it. Then he just says it. He was thinking she looks insanely cute today. No build-up, no hesitation, just drops it like it's nothing while standing in the middle of the street. Tachibana's face goes so red that steam is practically shooting out of her ears, and he immediately backtracks asking if he said something skeevy. The gap between how casually he delivers compliments and how violently they destroy her is the engine that powers this entire manga. Tachibana bursts into her mom's room in full panic mode, and both of them are screaming at each other with the exact same energy. Mom's yelling that this is no time for dinner, and Tachibana is yelling back that it's absolutely not, and they're both so worked up that neither of them is making any sense. Her poor brother is standing in the doorway asking about food while 2 generations of Tachibana women have a synchronized meltdown. The pre-date preparation kicks into maximum overdrive as Tachibana and her mom sit on the floor surrounded by scattered clothes. She's asking what you wear on a date, what you even do on a date, stammering through every syllable like she's preparing for a job interview she never applied to. Her mom is trying to help, but also admits she doesn't know how dates work either, while her brother once again appears in the background, still hungry, still ignored. She processes everything that's happened and stares at herself with huge glassy eyes, quietly asking why he would say something like that to her. One word fills the panel. Yikes. And it's not fear, it's the sound of someone realizing they're in way deeper than they ever planned to be. She wobbles over to her brother, begging him to save her, and he shuts her down immediately, telling her not to rely on him and not to come any closer. She barges into her brother's space, squealing at maximum volume about how she finally did it. She actually asked Takahashi to hang out again. Her brother is covering his ears while she squirms around the room, vibrating with excitement about the possibility of a real date. He warns her not to get too carried away, or the guy will dump her. And the cruelty of that statement, combined with how true it probably is, makes her scream even louder. Takahashi agrees instantly. Of course they can hang out again. And Tachibana's eyes light up with the kind of sparkle that only appears in manga when a girl's entire world just shifted on its axis. She stammers out that she'll contact him later and literally bolts out of the room before he can say another word. He's left standing there, confused, wondering why they couldn't just plan it right then and there. But she was already 3 hallways away. The actual date arrives and the word awkward is plastered across the top of the page in massive letters. They're standing in the street and neither one of them can form a complete sentence, both stuttering through half words while trying to figure out where to even start. She's jerking around trying to bring up the temporary boyfriend-girlfriend thing from yesterday, and his confused reaction tells her that his brain processed precisely none of what she said. Back at home later, Tachibana puts on her glasses and lets every wall come down at once. She tells Takahashi she's sorry. For all of it, for everything, with the gentlest expression she's ever worn. Her mom is watching from behind the door, getting way too emotionally invested, and even her brother can't help but notice that something fundamental just changed in his sister. Takahashi notices that Tachibana acts completely different at home compared to school, and he says it out loud. She freezes, staring at him, and asks if he's got a problem with that. Then something breaks inside her. She admits she's an absolute moron who always says things without thinking, that she's stubborn, and that she knows there's no way he'll forgive her for how she's acted. The honesty in this moment is so unlike her that it feels like watching armor fall off piece by piece. She decides to change clothes while he's still in the room because apparently spatial awareness isn't her strong suit. She starts lifting her shirt without a second thought, and Takahashi has to physically stop her while yelling about what the hell she's doing. She doesn't even understand why he's freaking out, which perfectly captures how little experience she has with any of this. She's fearless when she shouldn't be, and terrified when it actually matters. Tachibana comes out of the bath and casually tells him it's free, dressed in nothing but a tank top and shorts. Takahashi nearly chokes, and she genuinely cannot understand what his problem is. Her mom appears and gently suggests that maybe she should wear proper undergarments even at home, and the way Tachibana argues back about her tight undies routine is the most unintentionally hilarious conversation this series has produced. Her brother narrates from the sideline that his sister is about to have a complete meltdown, and he's not wrong. She's standing there, frozen in place, eyes spiraling, making sounds that aren't quite words. Wa we, huh, fue, cycling through every broken syllable her brain can produce. Then the dam breaks, and she lets out a scream so loud it fills the entire bottom of the page, and you can practically hear it through the paper. Takahashi's mom shows up out of nowhere announcing she's back, and she's brought the entire situation with her. She immediately identifies Takahashi as the boy her daughter's been talking about, explains he's locked out because his parents are on business trips, and insists he's staying with them. Tachibana is standing there in complete horror watching her mom invite the guy she's in love with to sleep at their house, and her brother observes from the corner that mom's sense of personal boundaries is completely broken. She's lying on the floor in the fetal position, giggling to herself and crying at the same time, whispering that she did it again. She asks herself why she is the way she is, and for the first time, it doesn't sound like a joke. It sounds like someone who desperately wants to be different, but doesn't know how. Her family watches from the doorway as she comes home declaring it's all over for her, and the mixture of laughter and tears on her face is the most Tachibana thing in the world. The next day at school, she walks up to Takahashi and tells him not to talk to her anymore. No stutter, no insult, no blush, just a cold, flat command that lands like a punch to the gut. The classmate who tried to befriend her earlier watches from the side, and Takahashi is left standing there asking what happened, because the girl who was giggling on her bedroom floor last night just put up the highest wall she's ever built. They're standing outside at night, and Tachibana finally stops running. She asks him why he wastes his time on someone like her, an idiot who's always quick to lash out, who says things without thinking, who nobody should have to deal with. She catches herself mid-spiral and pushes through, saying there's one thing she's never been able to say to him, one thing she's wanted to tell him for so long, and her voice is cracking under the weight of every wall she's ever built finally crumbling at once. They're standing side by side under the streetlights, and she reaches out and takes his hand. She tells him she had a good time. No stutter, no insult, no deflection, just the truth, quiet and real. But then the final panel drops to Tachibana's face, half hidden by her hair, tears catching the light, and 4 words that change everything. There's something I need to tell you.